A smoke detector that never gives a false alarm is a smoke detector that will eventually miss a fire. Those two properties are not independent. You cannot optimize both, and every threshold you choose is a decision about which failure you'd rather have. That's not an engineering limitation. It's the same structure underneath every statistical test, every medical screen, and every fraud filter ever built. And today, we're going to simulate it directly. Today, the two ways a test can be wrong, and why fixing one worsens the other. What statistical power actually means, how to compute it by simulation in about 10 lines, and how to work out the sample size you need before you collect a single data point. That last one is the difference between an experiment that can answer your question and one that was doomed before it started. There are exactly 4 things that can happen. There's an effect, and you find it. That's a true positive. There's no effect, and you correctly find nothing, true negative. Then the 2 mistakes. You claim an effect that isn't there. That's a type 1 error, a false positive. Or there's a real effect, and you miss it, type 2, a false negative. For boxes, every test you'll ever run lands in one of them. Now here's the part that makes it a trade-off rather than a checklist. Your significance threshold is a dial. Turn it strict, demand P below 0.001, and you almost never raise a false alarm, but you'll now miss plenty of real effects. Turn it loose, accept 0.1, and you catch nearly every real effect while crying wolf constantly. Move the threshold, and one error rate falls exactly as the other rises. There's no setting that shrinks both. So the honest question isn't which threshold is correct. It's which mistake is more expensive in your situation. For cancer screen, missing a real case is far worse than a false alarm that leads to a second test, so you go loose. For a criminal conviction, we've collectively decided convicting an innocent person is far worse than the alternative, so we go extremely strict. Same mathematics, opposite settings, driven entirely by consequences. Which brings us to power. Power is the probability that your test finds a real effect, given that one genuinely exists. It's 1 minus your false negative rate. The convention is to aim for 80%, and here's what that actually means, stated plainly. Even a well-designed study misses a real effect 1 time in 5. That's not a failure. That's the standard we accepted. And you can compute power by simulation, which I find far more convincing than the formula. We simulate an experiment where we know an effect exists. Because we put it there, we run the test. We record whether it found it. Then we do that 10,000 times and take the proportion of successes. That's the power. No tables, no assumptions, and it works for any test you can code. Here's what's really going on geometrically. 2 distributions. The left one is what you'd see if there's no effect. The right one is what you'd see if the effect is real. Your threshold is a vertical line. Everything to the right of it gets called significant. The pink area is false positives, part of the no effect curve that lands past your line. The amber area is false negatives, part of the real effect curve that falls short. Slide the line and watch one grow as the other shrinks. And here's the lever that beats the trade-off. Increase your sample size, and both curves get narrower, so they overlap less, so both error rates fall together. Detecting a large effect might need 40 samples per group. A medium effect needs about 64. A small effect needs closer to 400. That relationship is why underpowered studies are so common. People choose a sample size that feels reasonable, not one that could actually detect the effect they're looking for. So do this before you collect anything. Decide the smallest effect that would actually matter to you. Pick your 2 error rates, then simulate to find a sample size that delivers them. 10 lines of code, 5 minutes. If the answer comes back as more data than you can possibly gather, you've just learned something enormously valuable for free, which is that this experiment cannot answer your question before you spend 3 months on it. The honest caveat: Power analysis needs you to guess the effect size in advance, and if you knew that, you wouldn't be running the study. So people take the effect size from a small pilot, and small pilots systematically overestimate effects, because a pilot that got lucky is the one that got funded. That makes the resulting power calculation optimistic. Use the smallest effect worth detecting, not the effect your pilot happened to show. One sentence. You don't get to choose whether to make mistakes, only which kind you'd rather make, and only sample size buys you fewer of both. Next episode, we take all of this into the most common experiment in industry, the A/B test, and I'll show you a simulation where two identical variants produce a clear winner about 30% of the time, purely because of when you looked.